Hey guys, it is me, Ramon. I'm live again. I'm going to be sharing my Yahoo Fantasy Draft screen in a minute. Let me just give it its own window. And I figured that this is a perfect time since I'm stuck looking at the screen and talking about football anyway, that I would talk about all the crap that's been going down. And I'm going to have to mute somebody else. There's a guy that you guys have actually seen on the channel that's kind of we're having a little um, back and forth here. So I know that the past 30 seconds were very riveting, but obviously this is all happening against the backdrop of Charlottesville, which I think is one of the most, there's plenty more to say on it, but we're living in a country that's already fucked up beyond Charlottesville. And yesterday I saw, let me see if I can share that too, this article about Marshawn Lynch. Um, and he is joining in doing his own protest against the national anthem. A little bit of why I think that um, his protest, we should just let it go. Let it go. The attitude from now on is let it go. Basically, we're going to have to take these protests and strive and go all frozen on them. Let it go. Let it go. Let them protest all they want. That's basically the attitude I'm taking to this, because how much more of this bullshit are we supposed to take, where we have to react to everything? And let me see if this is even public. I might have shared some streaming. Yeah, this is public. Okay, good. Uh, there's no viewers, but I don't give a shit. People can join in later. Uh, it says here, no, I don't want fucking ESPN. Dude, that's been sucks too. Uh, okay, Mercury News, San Jose Mercury News. They have this article. It says Marshawn Lynch's anthem sit down and its impact on the Raiders. And the running back is unlikely to fuel story with the media and has ownership on his side. And I'm I'm actually fine with this. As a company, they want to let this. First of all, there are a number of distinct differences between this case and the Kaepernick case. Now I'm going to take a 2-minute break, up a little water, and then I'll be back. So don't go away. I'm going to put it. Let me see if I can put a message on screen. Hold on. Turning my camera off. See control room. You can probably still hear me. So I'm gonna give a little time. The draft starts at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to put myself on mute as well. So And I am back. If you can hear me, I did put on the glare shades just so you don't have to look at the fucking sun basically blazing in your eyes while watching me. I'm going to share. Well, maybe I shouldn't share this screen. Nah, what the fuck. I'm going to mute this. So I'm sharing this screen. Okay. San Jose Mercury News. Hold on. It's not the one I want to share. Application window. Here we go. So that's going to be on the share, and we're going to go back and forth between my picks and the news. So it's about to be 12:30, and as you can see, I'm picking number 9. I decided that I'm gonna, it's really I wanted to get to this topic, and I don't feel that I can really be unbiased, because if you saw me in the previous frame, I am a crazy Dallas Cowboys fan, and I wanted to draft Ezekiel Elliott at some point, but there is plenty of good players on the team that are good pickups. Um, you've got Prescott, you have Bryant, Beasley, but I really wanted to take Ezekiel Elliott at some point, but with the whole suspension bullshit, who even knows? I don't even know if he's going to be picked in the first round. So I did go on the safe side, and I'm actually queuing to have LeSean McCoy taken, but I might just end up, taking one for the team. And if he's available, I might take Ezekiel Elliott. See if anybody's tuned in. Here we go. Present to everyone. Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry if you guys didn't see it until now. So while we're waiting, I'll discuss the Kaepernick issue and Marshawn Lynch. It says Marshawn Lynch's anthem "Sit Down" and its impact on the Raiders. Marshawn Lynch made headlines the way he usually does, without saying a word. And that's only one of the reasons why a second go-round of a prominent player sitting for the national anthem won't have the same furor or momentum it did a year ago, when the 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick stayed seated to protest racial injustice. You know what? I'm going to turn the fan on. Let me see. Hold on. It's fucking hot in here. I'll be right back. I see one viewer in here. Don't leave. If that's you, Dean, don't leave. And I'm back. You're watching my fantasy draft live. It's already started, so we're gonna go back to the screen. So who's taken already? And I'll look at your comments before the before each pick. So there have been 4 picks made. LeSean McCoy was taken, so that takes my guy. Then I'm gonna add Ezekiel Elliott. And if I can't take him, I'm probably going to take, let me see here. Jeez. Maybe I won't take Ezekiel Elliott. I might actually have to take DeMarco Murray or Devonta. You know what? I'll take Devonta Freeman. I don't give a shit. Let's see here. So I can either take Elliott or, see, this is the position they put me in, guys. They ban Elliott for 6 games, and then, they just have. Let me see if anybody. There's no comments yet. Yeah, so I am going to take Mr. Devonta Freeman, and it's with that. But I think it's a good pick, and that's at the end of the day, that's what matters for fantasy football. Not picking guys on your own team. I think I did make the right choice. And it looks like I have the 12. I have the next pick is going to be mine too. So I'm back on the button, and indeed I can still pick Ezekiel Elliott. So I have the entire. This is the irony. I have the my running back position is in pretty good condition until week 6, when I can probably get rid of one of these guys or draft them. I have 2 of the best running backs in the league. I already have Freeman and Ezekiel Elliott. I think Devonta Freeman, and if anybody's wants to chime in, I think they would agree, is probably the biggest unsung hero of the past year in terms of who was the greatest star that had the best year that was. I mean, he could have actually won NFC MVP, NFL MVP, if there wasn't so much focus on what was happening in Dallas, and he was a fantastic player. So I have 2 guys at in my on my roster already. See, I have 2. Let me see if I can share this again. I know there's not a lot of people interested in this, but I'm not gonna like ignore this issue. I think people need to take a step back sometimes and really look at what's fun for them. And for me, fantasy football is definitely a lot of fun. Actually, I'm much more in tune with fantasy baseball, but it actually isn't as big of a, there's nobody I know that plays it, so it's hard for me to bounce ideas off of people. It's gone down in popularity over the past few years, fantasy baseball, because baseball itself has gone down in popularity. There just aren't as many people that are they're willing to make those decisions on a daily basis, as far as just roster decisions or whatever you want to call it. Let me see where I'm picking in the 3rd round or in the 4th round. I think I could pull off some real sneaky shit here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get, let me see, should I take Amari Cooper for my first wide receiver, or should I take Brandon Cooks? I think somebody just took Amari Cooper. Let me see. Yeah, somebody took him already. So for me, it's between Cooks, Demaryius Thomas, or Rob Gronkowski, and I think I'll be able to get both Cooks and Gronkowski. I know people are tuning out right now, but these things usually go fast, so I'm gonna keep let me see here. Yeah, they took him. Hopkins. I'm gonna put Thomas on my queue, and then Gronkowski. Yeah, I'm gonna take Demaryius Thomas, and then I'm gonna put Gronkowski in my queue. There you go. Problem is that this guy has 2 picks in a row. I hate it. That's what I hate about fantasy football, that the drafting doesn't make any sense. It happens super fast too. So here I'm going to get Gronkowski. So far I have one player. That's how, I used to be called a homer, but honestly, look at my roster. I have Freeman, Thomas. Those don't play for Dallas. I have Gronkowski, and I have Elliott. So now I'm 14 picks away. Let's see who I can get. I don't want to take Michael Crabtree. Fuck that guy. I don't take. I'll tell you the truth. I don't pick people in my own division. Geez, Eddie Lacy is injured again. Carlos Hyde is injured. I don't need a running back anyway. I think I might take Greg Olsen. Actually, no, I have a tight end already. Fuck that. I'm torn now. I have down here at pick 6. I have Emmanuel Sanders and Keenan Allen. And then way down the list, I have somewhere I have. So I'm just gonna queue both of those guys and see which one's gonna be left over, because those guys are both. But I'll tell you what, Keenan Allen is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. So if anybody wants to know who I think is a sleeper every year, doesn't matter what. I mean, until he obviously takes some crazy injury. I would definitely say that Keenan Allen would be him. I'm going to add Dak Prescott to my queue. You can see that his projected stats are actually going up. So I don't feel any guilty for taking him. He wasn't as big of an issue as last year. But I'm adding him to my queue. And if anybody has a problem with that, they can suck my dick. So here I'm 5 picks away. Let me maximize the screen. I mean, you guys, I don't think there's anybody in the chat anyway. So if anybody wants to join in, I might not even see you. So I see Carlos Hyde was drafted. I don't know what people draft injured guys. Maybe, of course, maybe his, maybe he wasn't, maybe he's not going to be on the disabled list for long. That's what I'm trying to say. It looks like Terrell Pryor Sr. is now on the Washington Redskins. That's kind of a sad story for me, because I liked the guy when he was with Ohio State, and I hate the Redskins. I've also said a number of things that I think that they're a horrible franchise, but in general I hate them as a team, irrespective of what's going on. So let me see here. I still have Emmanuel Sanders available, so I'm going to draft Emmanuel Sanders, and then I'm going to take probably Dak Prescott at some point. It would be crazy if I had Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman on the same roster, but I think I'm going to go first for Dak Prescott. Here we go. I think he's going to have a better year now, because he is definitely going to have more on his shoulders in the first 6 games in terms of being able to work with what's his name, Alfred Morris, as opposed to Ezekiel Elliott. So a few comments on some of the guys I did pick. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. I might end up having to get rid of one or both of them, because the the quarterback situation in Denver is pretty It's pretty tenuous right now. There's an issue of who's going to be the starting quarterback. And let me see how many picks I have. I have 12 picks until it's my turn again. So I'm going to go back on screen. Yeah, the Denver Broncos, for those of you that don't know, they have an issue of who's going to be the quarterback. I think Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian are the two top candidates. And Siemian, I think, is going to win the job. I think he's a better quarterback than people think, but he's not a good fantasy quarterback, and there's a difference. And I'm hoping that they can get their shit together and really make a run in this very tough division, the AFC West. But that's really becoming a good question now, because last year they ended on a very bad note. I think Lynch got injured too, so both of their quarterbacks got injured, and they seem like a team on the decline to many people. I think I'm going to take this opportunity to add Jameis Winston to my queue. And Jameis Winston is going to come up in the next, once this draft is over, I'm going to talk a little about him. I think Jameis Winston is a fantastic future superstar, but, he has character issues that I think are, they've been downplayed since he got into the league. But I think people should remember that this guy, people didn't even think he would make it 1 year in the league. He's made it 2 years. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mark my words, they are the sleepers' favorite to go to the NFC Championship and possibly the Super Bowl. I'm not trying to say that I want them to go to the Super Bowl, because, of course, I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, but they're so good. They have such a variety of talent here. Let me see. I might have to take Cam Newton. Here, yeah, I could take Cam Newton. That's fine. That'd be awesome. I got Cam Newton. I should have also taken DeSean Jackson. Let me see what's my next one. Yeah, I have 2 picks. I can just take DeSean Jackson now. I would have taken DeSean Jackson last year, but he was playing for the Redskins. So now I think that, here we go, I have one of the best. See, this is how I like to think of it. And everybody knows this. This is the key to fantasy football, and it's nothing that Ramon is refreshing for you. Let me put my. I have 15 picks until my turn, so let me put my screen back on the fantasy board. I know for some of you it's going to be boring because you believe that politics is everything in life. So in probably 10, 15 minutes, you're going to get back to politics. So don't worry about that, guys. And I can't see the chat, by the way. If anybody's shit talking me in the chat, please hold your shit talking till later. So everybody knows that the real key to the fantasy football is not just picking guys that are like really popular or that have like a good exposure. It's guys that are what they call the sleepers. And I have a good selection of Dak Prescott is fairly well known, and he might not be the greatest fantasy quarterback. So that's why I have Senor Cam Newton. And then wide receivers, I have Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. That might end up being my Achilles heel, because Denver is a real fluid situation at quarterback. So I'm sorry, I'm probably going to have to cut 1 or 2 of those guys at a certain time and replace them with somebody else. Then I have DeSean Jackson, who I think is going to have a phenomenal time playing with Jameis Winston. You can probably see my cursor here. Devontae Freeman was my first pick, and he is always, he is like the new Marshawn Lynch, that great physical smash mouth running back, has that wide body, those Earl Campbell legs. I think that is the guy that I'm certainly happy that he got to be in my feed. And then I have Ezekiel Elliott, who likely won't play until week 7, which I'm very angry about. But what are you going to do? Or even it might even be week 8, because I think they have a bye week 6. Then you have Rob Gronkowski. No need to say more. That's going to be it's going to be a good question how much he can hold on. So I think I should with my next pick go with a tight end, and then also I have Cam Newton, always one of the greats. Let me see what I have as far as tight ends. I could have taken Travis Kelce, by the way, who's an amazing guy. The tight end, by the way, in fantasy football, it's the same as with relief pitcher closers. It's very once you don't have one, you're really fucked. They don't come up that often in terms of you know. It's not like in the middle of a season you get a great tight end. One season I had Antonio Gates. He was fantastic until probably week 11 when he got injured. I was screwed the rest of the season. Or no, I think that here I took Jared Cook from Oakland, so I have a backup tight end now. And now I'm going to pick in two. See, I would take Brandon Marshall right here, but again, he's with the New York Giants. I really have this problem, and I don't know if anybody else can sympathize with me. I cannot pick a guy that I think is playing for another team in my league, in my division. I'm sorry. You got Phillip Rivers here. I already have two quarterbacks that are good enough, so I'm going to take Stephon Diggs at wide receiver, and I think that rounds it. I have four wide receivers now, and I ought to start looking for running backs. So I have 15 picks until my turn. So I'm going to go back, see if there's anybody in the chat. There's nobody. Looks like nobody's chatting here. Nobody has any questions, right? I'm wondering who's watching. Here. Is this boring, you guys? Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Yeah, this fantasy football, you either love it or hate it. I have a friend that hates fantasy football. He's all about, we should only be focused on how the teams are doing. He's a Cleveland Browns fan. If you live in Ohio and you know Cleveland Browns fans, I don't see anything like that with Pittsburgh or Cincinnati fans. They're all okay with fantasy football, but for some reason I see a number of Cleveland Browns fans saying, "Oh, fantasy football is bullshit. You should only root for people on your team." Otherwise you're disloyal. Otherwise you're a front runner. Look, people need to enjoy a season. Maybe you would enjoy football if you actually played something that you had a chance of winning instead of rooting for the Cleveland Browns. That's my perspective on this. And if the only person watching is a Cleveland Browns fan, you're free to comment and get schooled, because when you have a team that is just complete garbage, I would try any way I can to make the season entertaining and enjoyable. And that's the best advice I can give on that. So who do I have now? I have Theo Riddick. Latavius Murray. Let's see how much he's injured. He's been activated. Yeah, I might have to take this Latavius Murray since I have so many receivers already. I mean, look at my receiving core. I have Thomas, Sanders, Jackson, and Diggs already. This is a great receiving team right now. I could take some of these guys also. Yeah, I think I might take Latavius Murray. Somebody comment, because I'm considering whether should take Latavius Murray from Minnesota, or I think the next person would probably be either Duke Johnson for Cleveland. Yeah, that's right. I might take a Cleveland Brown, or Thomas Rawls of Seattle, but yeah, I think it is going to be Latavius Murray. Let me go back to the general screen. Since I have a little time. I have Eric Decker I could take for Tennessee, but I'm not going to. Jeremy Maclin is a has-been. I'm not going to take him. Kenny Britt will probably have a very iffy season, depending on who's going to be quarterback in Cleveland. Carson Wentz, not going to take him. Carson Palmer, no. Ryan Tannehill, no. Joe Flacco, no. Alex Smith, no. Sam Bradford, no. Deshaun Watson. Trevor Siemian. Man, I could take a chance right now with Deshaun Watson. How much time do I have left? The thing is, I have so many different. I have like 3 quarterbacks if I pick Deshaun Watson, and I don't know which one I should take. I might take. I'm just gonna take Deshaun Watson. Screw it. I see the one person in the house left. So thanks for joining me. I'm gonna take Latavius. Oh, I know what happened. This is boy, is my face red. I did by position. So all I had was quarterbacks. That really sucks. Okay. And I could have taken Tevin Coleman, who I am probably going to take if I can't find anybody else. Anyway, while we're waiting, I'm going to put this so I can hear when it comes back. Yeah, the Marshawn Lynch protest is, in my opinion, fine. You have to allow now for the fact that the taboo's already been broken. You can protest the game, and I think that if you want to protest the national anthem, yeah, Colin Kaepernick had the right to protest the national anthem. The fact of the matter is that the consequence was that he automatically became the lightning rod for everybody that opposed the protest. If it would have been somebody else, let's say it would have been somebody from a different team, DeMarco Murray from Tennessee, protesting the national anthem for whatever reason, then DeMarco Murray would have been hated by the entire league. The first cut is the deepest, as Cat Stevens says. And you cannot really talk about people having freedom of speech without then stating that, yes, there's freedom of speech, but there are reactions that occur as a result of that speech that the speaker must take into account. They cannot just claim, oh, we're just going to, let I should be able to say whatever I want and there should be no consequences. No, that's not the way that society operates. Once you say something that's so outrageous, the same thing happened with Paula Deen, and I'm not trying to conflate an act of protest with somebody's private comments, which is, I think, less egregious. With Paula Deen, her entire career was ruined by something that she said in private. Colin Kaepernick pretty much ruined his career by just deciding, I'm going to say whatever the hell I want, and I'm going to sit on the bench during the national anthem, and nobody can say shit to me because now I'm in a contract year. Well, guess what? With Marshawn Lynch, he's actually done a very smart thing, and I give him credit for it. He started this protest in his case after somebody else had already done it, and after he'd already signed a new contract. And apparently, the Raiders organization is behind him, which I think is, that's up to them. I think you're going to have to deal with people who disagree with that. But to be honest with you, I think that given Lynch's reputation as a person who's very strong-minded and here I selected Tevin Coleman, so I have the dynamic duo of Atlanta running backs on my team. So now you can complain that I'm skewed towards the Falcons instead of the Cowboys. Okay, so you can't complain that I have bias here. Let me see if there's anybody else left. I'm going to look for Terrence Williams and draft him. And I think I have all the position players that I need. Yep, I have all the position players that I need. So this draft is almost over for me. I'm going to go for a kicker. I'm going to pick Brandon McManus, add to the queue, and then I'm going to look for a team defense. For some reason, the Rams have the best defense. I don't know how long that's going to hold, to be honest with you. Yeah, I might actually end up taking some of these defenses really don't seem to be all they're cracked up to be. Let me share the screen again. Not that it matters if somebody just came in and left and whatever, which I don't care, Go ahead. It's my party and I'll cry if I want to. So yeah, I just missed out on my kicker. He's not going to be there anymore. Dan Bailey, let's see if he's available. He might have already been picked. Dan Bailey. Yeah, I think he was already picked. Okay, then listen, I will take. Let me see here. Let's do this by fantasy points. Yeah, I'll just take this one. All right, and I think that'll do it. I think that will do it. Let's see if anybody did some shit talking while I was gone. I don't see anybody in the chat at all. Wow. Whoa. It says Lynch was long gone from the Raiders locker room by the time reporters arrived Saturday night in Arizona, leaving Jack Del Rio to do the talking. Del Rio didn't wait, addressing it in his opening statement. If Del Rio can get his linebackers to go at ball carriers as aggressively as he tackled the Lynch story, Maybe the Raiders defense won't give up yards as easily as they did in the first half of a 20-10 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. He said, "This is something I've done for 11 years. It's not a form of anything other than me being myself." Okay, let me just draft. I got now I'm gonna go to this one. Just gonna draft that defense. Huh, how is my team full if I don't have a kicker? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, I think like now we can just pick whoever the hell we want out of the remaining players. So I'm done. What do you like most about? All right, I don't give a fuck. So the draft is complete. Let me see what this fucking clock says. I had to go pick up a kicker, by the way. Probably do that later. Help, get me out of here. Leave. Yeah, the draft is complete. I don't know why they have a countdown clock. I'm gonna exit this survey. Just stop sharing this. Yeah, so I'm just going to keep reading this article. It said, "There's something I've done for 11 years. It's not a form of anything other than me being myself." This is what Del Rio says about Lynch. I said, "Just so you understand how I feel, I very strongly believe in standing for the national anthem. But I'm going to respect you as a man. You do your thing, okay? So that's a non-issue for me. There has been no reporting of Lynch ever sitting for the anthem, although there were times he came out of the locker room late and wasn't on the sidelines when it was played. The question is whether a story has legs, and Kaepernick was a veritable centipede given his predilection for addressing it every other week or so when it was brought up by local or visiting media. That's all well and good. Kaepernick said what he believed what he said, and wanted to relay a message. That's his right whether you agree with him or not. Lynch, on the other hand, hasn't spoken to the media since training camp began. The hope is he would talk once in Napa, but only 3 sessions remain until the club heads back to the club facility in Alameda. Kaepernick told his story to NFL media on the night he was seen sitting for the anthem. Lynch said nothing, at least not for public's consumption. And while the story won't end there, it doesn't have a lot of food for the media beast unless Lynch cooperates and begins talking, perhaps linking the action to Saturday's white supremacist rally and counter protests in Charlottesville, Virginia. You see, they have to link everything. Everything it's intersectionality. That's what the fucking media is about. Even if Lynch were to do that, rest assured the organization that employs him will be solidly in his corner in terms of acting on his own conscience. Last season, Raiders owner Mark Davis invited Tommy Smith to light the torch in honor of his father, Al Davis, when the Raiders played in Mexico City. The same Tommy Smith who raised a gloved fist in protest of racial oppression in the Mexico City Olympics in 1968 and had his gold medal stripped as a result. Owners John Mara of the New York Giants and Steve Bisciotti of the Baltimore Ravens are too afraid of fan backlash to sign Kaepernick, and Mark Davis is inviting Tommy Smith back to Mexico City. If owners have tacitly determined Kaepernick won't play in the NFL, rest assured Davis isn't going along with it. Lynch's action barely created a ripple in the post-game locker room. "I didn't know he sat," quarterback E.J. Manuel told reporters. "I think that's a personal thing. Obviously, we all support Marshawn because he's a part of our team, but I really think that is more of a personal thing. I can't really comment on it too much." Then again, player reaction was fairly muted throughout the league last year, a fact that pretty much went under the radar because of the level of debate everywhere else. It was ownership and some management types that couldn't get behind the notion of free speech. The 49ers players were so put off by Kaepernick, they voted him the Len Eshmont Award as the team's most inspirational player. The Raiders, in fact, based on the geography, ownership, and a long history of being iconoclasts, would be the ideal landing spot for Kaepernick. That assumes, of course, that Kaepernick would be okay with being a distant second string to franchise quarterback Derek Carr. For now, Manuel, a former first-round pick, appears to be in the lead to be the backup over second-year quarterback Connor Cook. But if both were to falter through either injury or performance, the Raiders would be advised to make the call to Kaepernick, and they would have the only owner in the NFL who wouldn't have a problem with it. Now, that would be a story with legs. So, okay, here's the thing. They are so desperate to make Colin Kaepernick the story of the offseason that they will even take the story of somebody who, first of all, Marshawn Lynch, nobody has a problem with his protest. Even people I don't think Raiders fans or anybody is going to make an issue. Some people I've seen already commenting, those people have to kind of calm down. It doesn't even matter. Marshawn Lynch is going to continue to be in the league. The Oakland Raiders are on his side. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed him. There's a player that already has a contentious relationship with the media. What's the difference between him and Kaepernick? Marshawn Lynch brings a history of performance. He was a great running back in Buffalo and in Seattle. He won a Super Bowl with Seattle. He took them to another Super Bowl. Marshawn Lynch, and for those of you just joining us, that guy just left. This is kind of pathetic, but I don't care. Marshawn Lynch is a guy that he has a long history of letting his actions speak louder than words. This is a guy that he will be leading the Raiders to a higher position in the standings this year. Now the Raiders do have a stud running back in their backfield. Latavius Murray was also good last year, but I think with Lynch you're going to see a certain upgrade. And the other issue is that you have underreporting of other stories that the media doesn't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the Cabrera issue, and with the Ezekiel Elliott issue, I think I want to address that, which has become sensationalized. Being as he is a Dallas Cowboys player, obviously I'm biased, but to be honest with you, I think that even if he is suspended for 6 games, his team will be able to probably adjust for that. They have, first of all, I think 3 weeks left before the season starts to really organize their running back position, and they have some pretty good running backs on the bench. You have Darren McFadden and Alfred Morris, and both of those guys have had good years before. McFadden with the Raiders and the Cowboys, and you have Alfred Morris with Washington a couple years ago. Last year he didn't get as many touches. He was almost thought to be on his way out, that he wasn't getting along with the team, but he's back. And I think that given his performance a couple weeks ago, he will be, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. I'm going to look for his stats this preseason. I mean, yeah, Alfred Morris will be able to compensate for that. But the principle behind it should be obvious. I mean, we have. I'm going to mute this tab, but the principle behind it is that we believe in America in innocence until proven guilty, and unfortunately, there is there's this departure from that when it comes to the NFL lately. What they did with Adrian Peterson. Now, look, I get it that Adrian Peterson did do something that could be considered a crime. However, I think that the legal system is the venue to decide what's going to happen. It was not. It can be considered a crime. However, corporal punishment is that it's not as big of a issue, especially when you're talking about who's doing it. Like if you have a father punishing his child, I mean, with the switch issue, it was a huge issue. It was a huge I want to say topic at the time, because there were those that believed that you should never hit a child. There were those that believed that you need to hit a child. Preseason stats. I'm just pulling that up for my own convenience. Looking at the heavy.com. I can't believe I'm looking at them for preseason stats. Here you go, box score. Nah, I hate going to ESPN. So there was one touchdown in that game. Yeah, Darren McFadden was starting at running back for Dallas. Here, Cooper Kupp, fumble recovery. Yeah, whatever. Full team stats. I'm going to wrap this up soon, by the way. Okay, so rushing, you had Alfred Morris getting 11 yards on 5 carries. So I don't think that they're in great shape yet, but they will be, and they were playing against the best defense statistically in the league. I think they will be fine without Ezekiel Elliott. But the principle is this, that this is somebody who is not only not convicted of a crime, it was never brought to trial. And the questions, first of all, the police have doubted the alleged victims' testimony and version of the events. They've called into question her sincerity, and I think that that has to be taken into account. And for the NFL to decide that they are judge and jury, as I saw in a post a couple of days ago, a reaction, I think it was on Bleacher Report, that just shows that they've become so arrogant. Roger Goodell has become so arrogant that he thinks that he can guide public opinion just based on the fact that he's the commissioner of the NFL. So I think that at some point, I think people are going to start really, really tuning out more even than last year, because it's not even an issue of the politics. It's an issue of, is this a league that believes in performance and competition, or is it a league that believes in basically, ending all the fun that's in the league? And I think that goes beyond just the criminal issues. I think that at a certain point, yes, they do have to keep players accountable for their actions. But if these aren't their actions and they haven't been actually implicated, then you cannot start just persecuting them as if they're a bunch of, I don't know what word to use. They're a bunch of serfs, persecuting them as if they're your like some sort of indentured class, slaves even. That's really the problem. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not using the word slaves in the context that these are people that are poor and they're being exploited, but they are, their occupation as an NFL athlete is precluding them from getting a fair hearing. Yes, there is an NFL personal conduct policy, but it should not supersede the the legal process in the society at large. The NFL is not going to be very successful if they start to become the morality police. They've swung 180 degrees in the wrong direction, in the opposite direction, I should say. I mean, at a certain point, they were too lenient. That's also not good. You don't want a league that's going to let people get away with everything. That would be wrong as well. But they let Colin Kaepernick get away with his protest because they were too cowardly to actually give a position on it. And now we're reaping the reward of it. We're having a lot of players that are making it a real issue, and now people are calling for the players themselves to boycott the NFL and not play until Colin Kaepernick plays. I think that would be very interesting. What would happen? It would be very, very, very interesting what would happen if you had this massive boycott of the NFL by its own players, which I don't think is going to happen. These people are egotistical nuts, and they are not going to give in. They're not going to give in their payday for some guy that many of them don't even know. But if they do, then you're going to see the league basically fall apart, and God knows what's going to happen after that. So that's it for my fantasy football live stream. I hope the three of you that tuned in had a good time for the 5 seconds that you were in. And I understand it was boring, but what am I supposed to do while making these picks?